Now I check to see if the guitar is tuned. Keep going. That's a Shlomo Nigun, really nice one. Okay, so Shalom Aleichem to everyone. Yes, Yael wrote that I cut my hair. I don't know why it's a slow connection. Now I'm supposed to be connected to the Wi-Fi here. Let me just double check. Yep, I guess it's kind of far from this room, but I don't think we're going to have disconnections without the Shem. It's probably in the other room. So yes, I said last week I was going to cut my hair, and I cut my hair 2 days ago. I realized I end up cutting it like only 4 times a year, and it doesn't take me that long. I do it myself, but for some reason I just don't want to do it. It annoys me, like lots of other things. I couldn't renew my prescriptions with Maccabi. Got a notice, you have to go see your doctor. It's been 1.5 years. So I went to see my doctor, and I said to him, do I really have to come here every 1.5 years? He's like, yeah, it's a responsible thing to do. Like, but it's such a pain. He's like, if you live somewhere else in the city, I can find another doctor for you. I said, no, I work right here in Binyan Klal. He's like, and you're complaining to me? Because they're, on Agrippa Street. I hear koach. Koach! The Kavod Shabbos. Come on in. If you want some sushi, there's still some left over. Yeah, you'll have to make your way into the other room. Okay, so we're learning from Lesson Samich Bet. And for anybody who listens to the podcast, the Hasidic Story podcast, so I told the story, of course, Chai Elul is coming up this Shabbos. And Chai Elul is the birthday, slide it, there you go, if they haven't taken it away yet, is the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov and the Alter Rebbe, Reb Shneir Zalman of the Adi. And Chai Elul, the 18th of Elul. So for the podcast, I told the story of the Alter Rebbe, and I told the story of the Baal Shem Tov. Oh, what is this on? 27? Somebody out of their minds? Is that on the heater? Cool, okay. And so in the first story that I told on the podcast, it's about Rebbe Nachman's grandfather, who I didn't know. I just came across it in the story, whose name was Yechiel Michal. And in the story, he shares words of Torahs that he heard from the Baal Shem Tov. So it doesn't say in the book, it's like one of these official books of Baal Shem Tov stories, it just said he shared wondrous ideas from the Baal Shem Tov. So I figured, okay, it's time to bring in some Likutey Moharan. So I shared this idea of the lesson that we're learning, that eating in Kedusha can cause a person to create a unification between a Kadosh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah, which seems like such a mind-blowing thing. And then there was another Torah, Kuf Tet Vav, which I should remember what it said. I think that it was Hashem hiding himself within the obstacles. I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It was Hashem hiding himself in the obstacles. Remember this lesson? And so I mentioned that. So the Chassidus that we're learning came up, and then of course I mentioned there's a class. Now we're learning Samech Bet 62. We're getting towards the end. You got something? Shukoch. And just close the door when you get a chance. What we're learning in this class, in this lesson, is that a person, if they're eating in Emunah, they're eating with a complete level of faith, then the eating is an elevation of is connecting the Shekhinah, which is in this world, with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is outside of this world. Oh, I forgot to say hi to everyone. So hi. Hi to Aryeh, and hi to Koach. And hi to Katie and Yael and my mother. And yes, she'll see that I got a haircut. So what does it mean to have the unification? So if you think about it, if we take something very simple, we take like this cup of water. I said a bracha on it before the class, but let's say I would say a bracha on it now. She'akol niyah bidvaro. What am I doing? I'm taking something physical that's disconnected from Hashem, and I'm connecting it to Hashem by drinking it. And it's taking something spiritual and physical and uniting them together. And that's what he's talking about. And what is the bottom line of this lesson? It always comes down to da'at. Da'at is awareness of Hashem's presence in the world. So if you are on a very high level of da'at, basically not just eating, but every physical act that you do would be a connection of the Shekhinah and Hashem. That's where he's coming. That's where he's getting to with this lesson. He's going to say that the more you are connected to Hashem, the more you're aware of Hashem, the more you see Hashem and believe in Hashem, to the point where you're even able to bring other people closer to Hashem through your Amunah and through your bitachon, through your acting with Amunah, then you're creating this unification. And it can go to such a high level that simply a person eating or doing anything physical can be making this connection between the Shekhinah and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. So now he's going to start off here with a section from the Zohar, and since it's all in Aramaic with the Hebrew translation, I decided I'm just going to read it in English. It'll be a lot easier. So he brings an analogy. He now wants to prove his point. He brings an analogy that's brought in the Zohar. Where is it? The Zohar, volume 2, 95a. Related teachings revealed to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Okay, so there's a beautiful maiden. The word for maiden is Alma, not with an ayin like my daughter, but with a hey. That's the normal word for a young woman who has no eye. What is it? Einin meaning no eyes. Einaim. So there's a beautiful maiden that has no eyes, and she's concealed. Her body is concealed and revealed. She comes out in the morning and is covered during the day. She adorns herself in ornaments that were not. Doesn't have the rest of the sentence there. I guess that were not there before. Okay, so that's the quote from the Zohar, and that's what we're going to learn from now. A beautiful maiden is the aspect of faith. The aspect of, you are beautiful, Rayati. Yafa at Rayati. My beloved is Rayati. This is from Shir HaShirim. Pchinat, that's connected to the aspect of Re'ah. You want to say something? Okay. Re'ah is befriending. And here we have Ure'eh Munah. So Rebbe Nachman likes to bring this quote from Re'eh Munah, I think it's from Tehillim. I guess maybe it's also in Shir HaShirim. Re'eh Munah, he brings it a lot of the time, hurting your faith, but also making your faith beloved. We were talking about taking our faith and adding kishutim, adding adornments to it. We're taking our basic level of faith and increasing it more and more and more. So I guess you could imagine a person that has maybe, I was thinking, a physical body, adding things to it, adding jewelry and clothes and things like that, or adding strength, a person wanting to be stronger and in better shape, or a person taking a home and taking the basic four walls and then making it more beautiful. And how are we making our faith more beautiful? We're having more faith more of the time. And when we have the most faith most of the time, then we create this unification. So we have this analogy of a beautiful maiden that has no eyes. And it says here, who has no eye, a mean has no eyes. That is the aforementioned questions that a person should not should not go into, but must instead be strong in their faith. So what's the analogy of a woman that has this beautiful maiden that has no eyes? It's a perfected faith that when a person has questions that they know that they can't answer, they don't dwell on those questions. Her body is concealed and revealed. She's concealed since if you ask a believer a reason for faith, that person surely will not know what to answer you. That is because faith is applicable only to something whose reason one doesn't know. Unlike concrete knowledge of the intellect, faith has no tangible body by which to grasp it. Faith is something that one logically cannot explain to anyone else or even to oneself. So faith, where does faith come in? I was listening to a lesson when I was flying to the States last time, which was, the last time I went was during Corona, so that was probably 3 years ago. It was when my kids got engaged, but they weren't married yet, and I was facing the huge sums of money for these two weddings, back to back. And so I downloaded all of these lessons from Chabad.org on Emunah and Bitachon. And I listened to this rabbi, there's a rabbi, what's his name, Rabbi Leib Shapiro, in Miami Beach. I love I grew up in North Miami Beach, and my father has a store on Miami Beach, and I know exactly where the yeshiva is, but I never met this rabbi in my life, and I ended up listening to his lessons. So it turns out the guy is really a great Talmid Chacham, and a very excited teacher, and he has hundreds of lessons on Chabad.org, and they always write advanced, because he just spits out stuff in Hebrew and Yiddish with no translations. You have to know what he's talking about. And so I downloaded all of his lessons on Emunah and Bitachon. And he's talking about what is true Bitachon. So just to define the two, Emunah is belief that God is running the world, faith in Hashem. Bitachon is acting on that faith. So an analogy that I gave at a lesson that Rabbi Nachman was giving that my wife liked and wrote down was, how do you know you have Bitachon? When your thoughts are towards Hashem and your speech is towards the person. So you're talking with a banker, you're talking with somebody from the government, your words are towards the person, but your thoughts are towards Hashem. If your thoughts are towards the person, then your faith is in them and not in Hashem. You understand the difference? Okay. Ran, Shalom Lechem. So, where was I going with that? So faith, what was the rabbi saying about bitachon? He said, God forbid a person falls out of their boat and they can swim for a little bit, but there's a big storm and the river is raging and they grab onto a rock. They grab onto a log. And then the log breaks up and they grab onto whatever they can find. And slowly the pieces that are holding them up are falling apart. And when there's nothing left to hold on, and they know that they're going to drown, and they're still asking Hashem to save them, that's when you know that you have bitachon. He says, when you get to the space where there's nothing more for you to rely on, and you trust in Hashem, then that's where the bitachon really comes in. And so when Rebbe Nachman says, that you should herd your faith, and how are we making our emunah on a higher level, we're finding Hashem in everything that we can, in all of the challenges in our life. And that's how the emunah gets stronger. Even so before we said that this young woman that doesn't have eyes, that's beautiful, and why doesn't she what is the meaning of not having eyes? It's not that she physically doesn't have eyes. This is an analogy or an analog. It means that we don't look into things that we know that there's no answer for. So if a person wants to know, but why did God, who's all good, allow the Holocaust to happen? How could Hashem murder innocent babies and great tzaddikim and tzadkaniyot? How can Hashem, I have to have an answer. How can Hashem do that? You can't answer that. No one can answer that. Anyone who answers it, it's not an answer. Because there's things that we can't understand. Now you can ask, how can Hashem create evil? We already know the answer to that. In order to have evil, you have to have good. And how can Hashem create darkness? Because in order to have light, you have to have darkness, and you have to have the opposites. But the reason why Hashem allowed the Holocaust to happen, the only reason that we can give is that there's absolute free will. Hashem is an absolute, as a libertarian, I don't know what the term is. Someone who believes in absolute free will, allow you to do whatever you want. And that's really what Hashem is saying. Hashem says, I allow the Jews to do mitzvot, and I allow Hitler, Yimach Shemo, to murder them. And that's how the world is. But the reason behind it can't explain it. So he says, what is a beautiful maiden? It's somebody that doesn't go into those questions. She's concealed, meaning that faith is concealed. We have faith, but we can't explain it. And that's because faith is applicable only to those things where reason one does not know. And even so, it's revealed. That is, the person that believes the thing that's revealed by the virtue of the magnitude of his perfect faith, it's as if his eyes see what he believes in. So a person can say, what's the difference between eating a kosher pizza and a non-kosher pizza? They look exactly the same. Okay, forget about pepperoni. Let's say 2 cheese pizzas that look exactly the same. Why is this one is kosher and this one is not kosher? Why are you only eating the one that's kosher and the one that's not? And I'll tell you, because it's a mitzvah. And Hashem commanded us only to eat kosher things. And that has a mixture of non-kosher ingredients, which means it's forbidden to me. And this has kosher ingredients, which means it's permitted to me. And the person can say, but you're looking at it and it's exactly the same. And you say, yeah, but my emunah in Hashem, knowing that Hashem commanded me as a Jew to only eat the kosher pizza, allows me to see something that you can't see, even though they look exactly the same. I can see that that pizza is the one that I'm allowed to eat, and that's the one that I'm not allowed to eat. And that's what he's saying. That emunah, on the one hand, it's concealed because you can't see it. On the other hand, it's revealed because the person that has belief can see something that the person that doesn't have belief does not. Now, I don't think, most people are not on the level where they could tell the difference if somebody put in your hands kosher pizza, non-kosher pizza, and they're baked exactly the same. Most people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I'm sure there's some holy, righteous people that could. But if you know that that's kosher and that one is not, then what makes you eat the kosher one and not the kosher one is your faith in Hashem. She comes out in the morning and is covered during the day. This is because a person's faith renews itself each morning. The aspect of they are renewed each morning, abundant is your faith. So we say that in the morning, Modeh ani lefanecha, Rabba emunatecha, abundant is your faith. And it's covered during the day due to the burdens of daily existence. Faith is covered, right? We wake up in the morning, be'erev yalin bechi v'leboker rina. We go to sleep crying, we wake up joyous. But then the day comes, like we start the day, like Hashem, this is going to be a great day. I woke up and you have emunah in me and I know that everything's going to work out. And then the stuff starts hitting the fan and all these problems start coming their way and life is difficult and you forget about that faith that you had earlier in the day. But the next day comes and it starts again. She adorns herself in ornaments that were not. That is the main adornment, it wasn't ornaments. The main adornment of faith is when those people who are not close to her are brought closer. As explained above, faith is adorned primarily when those who are distant from God, Jew and non-Jew alike, cast away their false beliefs and adhere to the true faith. The passage from the Zohar thus translates in our text as follows. A beautiful maiden who has no einin, eyes, someone with perfected faith, does not look deeply into questions that are at present beyond their comprehension. Her body is concealed and revealed for the person who perfects their faith. Believing is seeing. Even though they can provide no reason or logic to explain their faith, it remains strong because for that person, it's as if they actually see what they believe in. She comes out in the morning and is covered during the day. Although faith is constantly being renewed, the burdens of daily life cover it over and make it difficult to maintain. She adorns herself in ornaments that were not. Nevertheless, someone who perfects their faith is able to draw close those that are distant from God, adorning faith with ornaments that she did not previously have. Okay, so that's the quote from the Zohar, and then we're going to go back to Likutey Moharan. Any questions yet? Not yet. Coming soon.
Aren't they one and the same?
Okay, the Chaim. לאחר שנתפאר כי על ידי שלמות האמונה מגיעים לייחוד קודשה בריחו שכנתי פנים בפנים בשעת האכילה. After he clarified that through the completeness of faith we arrive at a unification of Hashem and the Shekhinah face to face at the time of eating. Do you understand the idea? Face to face at the time of eating, meaning that you've elevated your faith to such a level that even when you eat, you're on the level of having emunah in Hashem. And the simple physical act of eating is creating this unification between a spiritual and a physical being. I would say that it would go into everything. I'm sure that going to the bathroom, for example, would not be something that you could say was creating this connection, even though it really is creating a connection. But as soon as we come out of the bathroom, we say a blessing to Hashem for allowing us to have the ability to go to the bathroom. So everything physical, when we connect it to the spiritual, we're creating this unification. He's going to explain that through this unification, Ashchina mamlitza el al am Yisrael lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Shechina goes and praises the Jewish people in front of Hashem. Sheyeneheg imanu benisim gluyim kedei shetitchazek emunatenu od yoter. That Hashem should reveal for us open miracles so that we should increase our faith in Hashem. Today we had this crazy thing happen. I don't know what Ozempic is. You know what Ozempic is?
It's a drug for diabetics.
So it's hearsay. Okay, so I guess for weight loss also.
Also for weight loss.
So that's hearsay. That's what Yael is saying. I don't know. You lost me with that one. Today we had this crazy thing happen. Apparently, according to foreign sources, beepers of Hezbollah agents all around the Middle East exploded, and so what he said, what Rebbe Nachman is saying right here.
1,000.
I saw 2,800 before I left work. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's quite exciting. I also, for the first time in a while, I watched Al Jazeera. Because in English, because I wanted to hear them reporting, and they're like, but how could the Israelis have done this? But they did it. But it doesn't make sense. You could see the reporter was really flustered. It was so much fun to see. So it's exactly related to what we're learning here. He says, when the Jewish people have faith in Hashem, then the Shekhinah goes before Hashem, and it praises the Jewish people. And then Hashem wants to do open miracles for the Jewish people in order to, in a sense, create a cycle of increasing their faith in Hashem even more. So when we see something like this happen, or we see like the hostages that were freed by Israeli soldiers, that gives us more strength and more faith in Hashem. And Be'ezrat Hashem should be even more faith in Hashem and more open miracles. And he's saying this is exactly what we're talking about, that this act, it creates a cycle of more faith in Hashem and more awareness of Hashem. Ukshe ha'emunah kol kach b'shleimut. And when a person's emunah is on such a high level, complete level, ad she'al yedei zeh mitbarer ha'ma'achal me'ara ve'aklipot shebo, to such a level that when a person simply eats something, they're actually clarifying and elevating the food from the negative and evil energy that it has in it, right? Because the food can go either way. Food can be used for something good, and it can be used for something bad. But when a person is eating on a level of emunah, they're eating kosher food, they're saying a blessing, and they're saying it from knowing that Hashem provided for them this food and everything that came along with it, and having an awareness of it, that's the positive direction. The negative direction is a person can say, listen, I worked hard. I made my money. I don't care if the wine is kosher or it's not. I like wine. What, we're not allowed to drink wine? Jews are allowed to drink wine. So I'll drink non-kosher wine. And they drink and they get drunk. It's the same wine. Right? One was kosher, one was not. But it's the same thing. But one was used for kedusha and one was used for klipot, for the negative energy. And that it can go either way. So when a person is doing the act of eating and consumption in a positive way, they're elevating it from the negative. Azai achilato iyakaram od. And so then, even a person's eating is very precious to Hashem. Because when a person eats something that's been elevated or clarified through their faith in Hashem, it creates a unification of Hashem that is all and everything and more, and the Shekhinah, which is Hashem's presence in this world, which is limited. We're not able to really totally perceive Hashem, otherwise we wouldn't be able to exist. It creates this unification of Hashem and the Shekhinah face to face through a person's eating. Boaz Larut Le'et She'ochel Goshi Halom. Just like we had in the beginning when we started this lesson, where Boaz said to Ruth, go and eat with the workers. נתפאר לאן שרומז בזה שעל ידי האכילה נעשה ייחוד של הקדוש ברוך הוא וכל אחד ואחד, ושכינתו פנים בפנים. This is hinting at when Boaz is telling to Ruth, go and eat something, he wasn't just telling her go and eat, he was telling her make a unification between the Shekhinah and Hashem. V'kol echad ve'achad, and it's interesting. This is related to the story that I wanted to tell. The Bezrat Hashem going to tell about the Baal Shem Tov. That there's a rabbi that comes to the Baal Shem Tov and says one of his claims is that the Torah says we're not allowed to bring anything new, and you said you're bringing something new to the world. And she said, I'm not really bringing something new. It was already there. What I'm doing is I'm revealing something that people couldn't see before. But I'm not bringing anything new. And so when we read something from Rebbe Nachman that says, Boaz said to Ruth, go and eat the bread, we would think the pshat. Boaz says to Ruth, go and eat the bread. But Rebbe Nachman says, no. What is Boaz really saying to Ruth? He's saying, make a unification between Hashem and the Shekhinah. And that, so the Baal Shem Tov would say, you see, it was already there. It's just you, with your Litvak eyes, you couldn't see it. For me, with my Hasidic eyes, I could see it. Kol echad, huh? Okay, so we have to work on you some more. That's all. You still have some Litvak in you. In the one county in Nebraska that votes Democrat, or something you told me. Oklahoma. I don't know. I keep saying Nebraska. I don't know, because I don't know where Oklahoma is. I just know where Nebraska is.
What about Texas?
When you're from Miami, you don't know these things. Canada? It's funny, Toronto is southern Canada.
Yeah.
We think Toronto is like above North Dakota. North Dakota is the end of the world. From there, for them, that's the south. Okay, kol echad ve'echad lefi ma shetiken et midat ha'emunah. Every person that's creating this unification in their eating, okay, Ron here who's watching is explaining the Ozempic. Okay, thank you, Yael. We're getting very into Ozempic now. My recommendation for diet drugs is not to take them, because then when you stop taking them, you gain a lot of weight.
Yep.
Okay, so every person, according to what they fixed in their midat ha'emunah, in their level, in their aspect of emunah, of faith. And of course, do I have the chart in here? I still have the chart in here. Look at that. Emunah is Malchut. It's connected to Malchut. It's the lowest level. So the more Emunah you have, the more you can receive from all the Sfirot. So he's saying each person according to their level of Emunah. The higher your Emunah, the more you're able to receive from Hashem. Shehi Emunah im HaKadosh Baruch Hu panim panim. This is the faith of Hashem face to face. Ve'emunah metakenet et hakfirut shayu bo mikodem. Faith fixes the heresy that a person had previously. V'hi mitchanenet mamlitza. Mamletzet. Here it says mamletzet, mamlitza. Alav l'mnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it goes in front of Hashem and it davens to Hashem and it begs for you in front of Hashem and pleads for you on your behalf. Ki b'yichud HaKudsha Baruch v'shchinto panim panim azai ha'emunah sheyashchina im mamletzet al ha'rechokim lifnei Hashem yitbarach. Because when you create this unification between Hashem and the Shechina, face to face, through your faith in Hashem, which is an aspect of the Shechina, then it goes and it says praises for you to bring back those that are far away closer to Hashem. V'yikarev otam betzel knafav, and Hashem will bring them close and put them under His wing. I love that analogy of, I can't do a wing here, but imagine Hashem taking His wing and putting you under it. What a beautiful way of saying it. Hainu sheyimchol lahem Hashem yitbarach al emunatam shelo hayata b'shlemut. That is, Hashem will forgive a person for not having complete faith in Hashem. Sheyizku me'ata le'emuna betachlit hashlemut. That from this point on, a person will merit to have total faith in Hashem. Shelo yiyeh shum emtza'i beinam leven Hashem yitbarach k'moshen yitpa'er. That there won't be any intermediary between you and Hashem. Now this is really the main point of the lesson, which we have time to read, so we're going to read that. That there won't be any intermediary between you and Hashem. So he brings the example of Parnasa, and he brings the example of health. So a person could believe that in order to make more money, they have to do more things. Rebbe Nachman gives a very harsh way of making a living. He says, take the simplest job. He recommends taking a job as a guard at some park or some building or whatever, so you have time to sit and learn Torah. Being a guard is a great job because it gives you time to sit and learn Torah, and whatever Hashem wants to send you, that's a proper vessel for receiving it. Now, something that I don't understand is if a person is, for example, the CEO of Google, and a person is a guard at Google. So one is going to make a lot more money than the other. And so is Rebbe Nachman saying that the person that's the CEO should be the guard? Because one way or another, Hashem is going to make sure they get the money? Maybe it's what he's saying. I don't know. It's a complicated thing. I had a friend that actually did this. He decided to be a guard in a school. And he was a genius programmer. He never even went to university. He never studied programming. He just bought books and learned it on his own. And he had an incredible talent for it. He just grasped everything. And he refused to be a programmer because he was going to be a guard, because Rebbe Nachman said, be a guard. So he was a guard. And he sat and learned Torah for years and years and years. And then he had a total breakdown and stopped being religious and became a programmer and made, like 60,000 shekels a month. And he said, I've never been so happy. Now, I think extreme behavior like that is never healthy. I also told him, I kept telling him, you need to work as a programmer. He said, yeah, but when I'm doing programming, I can't think about Hashem. I can't focus on Torah because I'm always thinking about programming. So we always have to have a balance. Okay, so we said, and we're just going to read this paragraph and then I'm going to tell you a story and we're done. V'zehi mam militzata. And this is Shekhinah going before Hashem and saying generous words, so I'm going to translate it, before Hashem. Ki ikar hagorem leta'utam shel harechukim me'emunat Hashem yitbarach, because what is the cause of the people that are far from Hashem making the mistake of not having faith in Hashem? U'mechimat she'ikar yediat elukuto eino ela megilui al hasatum. Their understanding, the main understanding that people have of Hashem is that Hashem is some mysterious thing, and sometimes it's revealed. Because Hashem is actually hidden from this world. In order to bring an awareness of God's presence into a person's intellect, hirak me peulot haniglot שהשם עושה בעולם ומזה מבינים את הסתום והנעלם. The only way that a person can really understand Hashem in an intellectual way is in a sense to experience Hashem's presence again and again, and then they get to the point where even though Hashem is hidden, for them Hashem is revealed. ומחימת שרואים מגלוי מהמידות התנהגות המגולות שאנו מכירים על ידם את גדולתו, that when it's revealed, when a person sees in a revealed way that they have seen the greatness of Hashem in their own life, and I'm assuming that everybody has seen it in some form or another. I've seen it 1,000,000 times. Hashem revealing Himself, meaning that things happen that they couldn't be a coincidence, and it's clear that there is Hashem running the world. When a person sees that, for them, then Hashem becomes revealed. V'hanhagat ha'olam hu al yidei ha'marechet mazalot. And how does the world work? It works through this, fortune and faith. V'lachein lafnu b'nei adam b'ta'uyot shel avodah zara kol echad lefi ta'uto. So lots of people fell into this type of idol worship by mistake because they really believed that the stock market is what gives them the money, or Hashem is what gives them the money, or whatever it is. Not Hashem, their boss. They're believing that their boss is the one that gives them money, and they're not trusting in Hashem. Now, the boss is the boss because you're working for that person, but the boss is simply a way for Hashem to give you parnasa. Because if Hashem gave you parnasa directly, you wouldn't have free will. The whole purpose of creation is over. So Hashem has to do everything in a roundabout way, including healing people with medication, with surgery, with all of the things that happen. Hashem could heal you without it, but you have to have the thing there instead so that you continue to have your free will. Because the second that you don't have free will, there's no reason for us to be here. Okay, so the person can say that the world is run by nature, and that's just how it goes. V'yesh choshim shebetautam she'akol ad pi hateva olam mihanhago noheg. That a person can think that the whole world just goes by nature, and that's just how the world is. V'kol echad lefi ta'uto. Where am I? I skipped a line here. Shehem v'chas v'shalom ein shum koach elyon shemanhig et ha'olam. And they'll say there's no supernal force that's running the world. Hakol up al pi teva. A person can just say everything is according to nature. V'yesh ma'amanim she'akadosh baruch hu manhig et ha'olam. Ela shechoshvim b'ta'utam shetzarich la'avod et ha'emtza'i. They believe that Hashem is running the world, but they also have to serve the means. Kagon akochavim v'amazalot shedarkam she'akadosh baruch hu morid ha'shefer la'olam. That is the stars and the constellations that through them Hashem can bring abundance into the world. Or in the same way, a person could say this business deal, or this boss, or this investment, that's how I'm going to make money. You're making a vessel for it, but the money is coming from Hashem. If you believe that the money is coming from your investment in the stock market, then you made a mistake. And you made the mistake essentially of the golden calf. Kamo sheta'u Yisrael be'egel. Just like the Jewish people made the mistake of the golden calf. Sheratzu la'asot et ha'egel emtzei beinam levein Hashem yitbarach. They wanted to make the calf an intermediary between them and Hashem. She'amu la'Aaron, they said to Aaron, Kum aseh lanu Elokim asher yilchu lifneihem. They said, go and make an intermediary that will go before Hashem. B'chinat emtza'i, that is an intermediary, perush, shebikshu rak mishi sheyelech lifneihem yeh hamanhik shelehem. They asked that the calf go and daven to Hashem. They were going to daven to the calf. The calf was going to daven to Hashem. Avalo kafru b'Hashem yitbarach ba'atzmo. But they still believe that Hashem is running the world. So we have two levels here. We have the person, I think I'll read that again next week, just for review. We have the person that believes that the whole world is nature, and Hashem is not running the world. We have the person that believes that Hashem is running the world, but also I have to serve, in a sense, nature. And he's saying, but how do we really get to this unification between the Shekhinah and Hashem? We do it by only knowing that Hashem is running the world. Which is why I said, if you're facing somebody, let's say you're facing your boss. You're talking with your boss. Your words are towards the boss. Your thoughts are towards the real boss, to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If your thoughts are towards your physical boss and your words are towards your physical boss, you forgot that Hashem is running the world. And so the next time you say to yourself, Hashem is running the world, I'm going to now talk to my boss, I'm going to say what I need to say to him or her, but I know that the answer is not coming from that person, the answer is ultimately coming from Hashem. And I've told the story about my $100,000 bill from the IRS. Long story short, because I want to tell another story very short. I got this bill, I called the IRS, and every time I had a meeting for a year and a half, I would say, Hashem is running the world. In the end, I got child tax credits that paid off the $100,000, and they gave me a $12,000 refund, which I think only would have happened if I had had this faith in Hashem. Okay, the story of the Baal Shem Tov, we have like 3 or 4 minutes left. So there was, in the town of Brody, which I'm guessing Shalom Brat, his family was from Brody in Poland, that's where the name Brat is probably from. And it was a big town with a big Jewish community, and a lot of misnagdim, a lot of opposed to the Hasidim. The Hasidim in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, it was just the Baal Shem Tov. These days, there's Hasidim all over the place. Even misnagdim teach Hasidic teachings. So Hasidus is in a different place than it was before. Back then, it was considered a total type of heresy, because ideas like saying root eating is creating a unification of the Shekhinah and Hashem, that's complete heresy. That's not what it says in the Torah. You still have a problem with that.
I'm just saying I agree with that.
Okay, good. You just keep coming to these lessons. You just keep coming. See, Ari's been at like 600 lessons already. Maybe literally, I don't know how many we've had, but a lot. You just keep coming, you'll get there. Okay, so there was the rabbi, and in the story his name was mentioned, but I forgot it because on the way I was just trying to think of a story to tell for Chayalu. And he sees that there's young guys getting stones together to stone the Baal Shem Tov when he comes to town. And he says, you know what? It's a mitzvah to stone the Baal Shem Tov because the Baal Shem Tov is a heretic. And he's destroying the Jewish community. And so he takes some stones and puts them in his pocket. And as everybody's getting ready to stone the carriage of the Baal Shem Tov, when he comes in, this great rabbi, he says to himself, I never met the Baal Shem Tov. I never asked him any questions. I don't know if he's really a heretic or not. I really need to investigate this. So he says to the Baal Shem Tov's Gabbai, I'd like to meet the rabbi. And he says, sure. And eventually he's called into the Baal Shem Tov's room, and he starts asking him a list of questions. And one of the questions he asked him was what I mentioned before, is it says in the Torah that nothing new there's not going to be a new Torah. And basically what you're saying is a new Torah. And the Baal Shem Tov's answer to him is that nothing here is new, it's just things are being revealed. And if you really think about it, Chassidus had never brought anything that goes against halacha. That would really be something new. It brings more meaning to the mitzvot, but it's not bringing anything new. It's not saying, well, now we've established a new halacha, and according to this halacha, there's lots of minhagim, but there's no halachot. Everybody who's a chassid, an orthodox chassid, is following the Shulchan Aruch like everybody else. It's just giving a deeper meaning behind it. So then he asked him another question, and in the end, he was convinced that the Baal Shem Tov was not a heretic. I'm making a very long story short. I actually have it on the podcast. It's called Stones in the Ark. Something like that. So he's about to get up and leave, and the Baal Shem Tov says to him, don't you have some stones in your pocket? And he says, yeah. So I forgot about them. He said, can I have them? And he says, sure. He gives them these 3, big stones, and the Baal Shem Tov kisses them, each of them. And the rabbi says, what are you doing? He says, these are holy stones. You took these stones because you really believed that I was a heretic. And your belief was real. And you're a tzaddik. So these stones are holy as far as I'm concerned. And he went into the local shul and opened the Aron Kodesh and put the stones in the ark. And he said, this is the place that they belong, because your intentions were pure. And after that, of course, this rabbi became a chassid of the Baal Shem Tov. Because how could you not if the Baal Shem Tov is kissing the stones that you wanted to stone him with? It's one of my favorite stories. Is it just shows you the sweetness of the Baal Shem Tov. I think I only spent a couple of days in Esha Torah. There was too much Eish for me in Esha Torah. But the rabbis that I met back then, that was like in the early 90s, I think they would have taken the stones and stoned them. Stoned the person that was trying to stone them. And here, instead of that, you have the Baal Shem Tov kissing them and putting them in their own Kodesh. So B'ezrat Hashem, we should continue to see miracles. All of the hostages returned. All the soldiers kept safe and healthy, defeating our enemies, and unity amongst the Jewish people. B'ezrat Hashem.